Up next, we take it up a level. This engaging speaker session titled Future Fields of Labor, Education and Wealth, Building Blue-Collar AI is going to offer some underrated insights about the future of labor, academics, economy, and their interrelation. To share his insights, I would like to call on stage Aaron Burciaga, co-founder and CEO of DataPrime, Inc.
Don't keep this, but pass it around the room. If I say something later on today that's intriguing to you, please reach out to me. Send me an email or follow me. Pass it around the room. Everyone can do a quick scan, and we'll be saving a ton of trees. My name is Aaron Burciaga, and I'm going to talk about exactly what the screen says. About 3 years ago, I wrote a series of articles in Forbes called Why We Need a Blue-Collar AI Workforce. Those articles have led to brand new programs that I've helped build at Miami-Dade College in Miami, Florida State College in Jacksonville, and as well as Montgomery College in Maryland and across the United States. There is something happening, not just in artificial intelligence, but what I want us to open our eyes and our minds to in terms of a blue collar, a new collar, a revolution in the workforce. I'll get into it in a little bit. A little bit on me. You heard that I'm a co-founder. I'm the CEO of a company called DataPrime, also known as Prime AI. I started off, graduated the Naval Academy, so I was intrigued to hear what I heard a little bit earlier on. Graduated from the Naval Academy in 2003. I'm a second-generation Mexican-American. My mother was born in Juarez, my dad in the projects of El Paso. If it were not for great programs, I might still somewhere be in the barrio of El Paso. Went on, served 12 years in the Marine Corps, was in Fallujah 2003, 2004, while I was a logistics officer. Can I drop this now? Get off this. Now, in Fallujah, helped optimize for how we ran convoys and assault support requests with just some engineering. Turned out that was operations research. I got sent to postgraduate school, got my master's in operations research, which is an early term nomenclature for data science, machine learning, AI. Went to the Pentagon, did that, was actually special staff to Joe Dunford. And then the Marine Corps didn't have a program for officers back when I was in, so I jumped out, worked at Accenture, became Vice President AI at Booz Allen Hamilton, Vice President at ECS, stood up the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center for the DoD, just resigned from AWS, where I led one of 9 AI teams, and I'm now full-time at my company called DataPrime. And that's me on the far right, bearded with a little bit better hair. And that's my phone. Just go ahead and hit a button, it's one of my meal alarms. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it and talk a little bit about something that happened in 1943. Thomas Watson, now you all are a smart group. You might know this answer, so if you know it, don't shout it. I want people to kind of germinate on it. He said, I think there's a world market for maybe this many computers. If you know the answer, raise your hand. Don't say it. Thomas Watson, one of the founders of IBM, thought that there would be this. How many do you think? Anybody here with a wonderful bow tie? How many computers do you think Thomas Watson said that there's maybe going to be in the world? 1,000. Anyone else? Price is right. 1,001. Nobody? 5. Thomas Watson, one of the founders of International Business Machines, said, I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Was he wrong? He probably just didn't have the vision, right? And as you and I have been growing up and we had Alexa and we saw IBM Watson come along, we might have said, you know what, there might be Skynet and a few other AIs out there. But friends, AI is at its PC moment right now. A quick canvas of the AI tools that are available for your phones are these and many, many more. So if we would have said, how many artificial intelligence tools and systems are necessary or out there? Just like Thomas Watson said, it's not 5, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and they're pervading into our everyday lives. You might see some of them that are up there. If one sounds unfamiliar to you, I encourage you to go check it out. Lots of good tools. But you know what? As much as things change, things truly, truly stay the same. This is a slide that I've had for years. I used to call it the big book of data science, and then that became passé. People started saying machine learning, so it's the big book of machine learning. That's passé, and now it's artificial intelligence. So the big book of AI, okay. All of those applications that you saw up there on the previous screen, they do one of these chapters or sections of the big book of AI. They help with visualization. They help with decision science or geointelligence or Internet of Things. And they concatenate it, they link it, they connect it to a business application, call center analytics, life science and health, networking, pricing and promotion, talent and human resources. All of these things that you see, either it's Workday or beyond, it is all artificial intelligence that is helping us go from automation to data science to decision science to artificial intelligence. And that's where we're at today. So as you step back and you look at what are all the applications and the opportunities in artificial intelligence going to be, the more things change, the more things stay the same. It's going to be how we do call centers and customer and market, cybersecurity, emerging concepts and innovative technologies, different and a little bit faster. The chapters are the same, and I want to draw your eyes to the left-hand side, the responsibilities. I'm not going to get into it in today's presentation, but I've written for Forbes and other places the call for responsible artificial intelligence and a unified artificial intelligence model that helps us ensure that there are the requirements, the industry standards and the government regulations that are going to ensure that we approach all this thoughtfully and responsibly. My company, DataPrime, this is the only time you're going to see the logo on the entire screen, but it's important because, I'll go back, I saw a couple cameras up. Did anyone need to see the previous slide? I can't go backwards, that's fine. We'll flash back at the end. My company, DataPrime, I've been doing these solutions at Accenture, Booz Allen, HCL, ECS, AWS, and now independently. I am 44 years old. We have, in all of our solutions, ensured there is a 3 to 5% revenue lift in every single thing that we've returned to our customers. One of my very first piece of analytics that I ever did was for the United States Marine Corps, which was called the War Reserve. Basically, safety stocks. What was our inventory needed in the caves of Norway and on the pre-positioning ships so that there was ever warfare? We had enough tanks, enough flak jackets, enough rifles, enough things to replace that what got destroyed. That was called the War Reserve. When I recalculated all that and I provided that back to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it provided the Marine Corps with a $3.5 billion reduction in inventory. You and I, as taxpayers, were victims of human risk aversion. That with a little bit of math and a little bit of automation, we could bring data that had never been brought together with math that had never been devised, to then forecast for high, medium, and low-intensity conflict and look the generals in the eye and say, sir, ma'am, I am 95% confident that this is how many tanks you will need in the case of a World War III. Or in the case of a humanitarian conflict, this is what we will need to provide proper rations. And that enabled the Marine Corps to write off $3.5 billion inventory. All I got was a ribbon. I wish I had gotten a bonus. I took that same math that we did for the Marine Corps and took it to Nike in Portland, Oregon in 2012 and applied it to their yoga pants, shin guards, sneakers, socks. When they create too much inventory, you know what Nike does with it? The same thing the military does with it. Puts it through a shredder, burns it, destroys it. So as opposed to doing that, we said, you know what, Nike, you could do things differently, smarter. And with that same math, that same boosted recursive algorithm, they were able to reduce their inventory by $12 million in 3 months. That program, IPOT, terribly named, has been running since 2012 all the way to today. Think about the cost savings and aversion. So 3 to 5% inventory revenue lift, 1 to 5% reduction, and 50% EBITDA. Friends, if you're the Marine Corps or you're Nike, or today where my company is helping out with Aeromexico and United Airlines, you can profit and benefit just the same. All right, so let's get into a little bit about what is this fields of fortune, fields of labor, and fields of wealth that I'm talking about. Look at this screen. 2021, a data science shortage from LinkedIn reports. And this number went up about 100,000 last year, and I forecast it's going to go up about 300,000 this year. By just the skills listed in job postings, there were 3x as many job postings as where there were job searches and available candidates to fill those roles. Data science and analytics, a 35% shortfall. 250,000 jobs went unfilled because those resources weren't available. And you can say, well, aren't there more and more programs in data science and analytics than ever before? Yes, there are. But here's a few other problems. One of my friends at one of the major universities runs an artificial intelligence program. He's got 70 seats in his advanced AI. This is one of the top 5 in the nation. Guess how many of those are US citizens? Let me replay that. So we have a 250,000 person shortfall in the United States at one of the major 5 universities where there's 70 graduating in master's and PhD. How many of those in the class of 2025 are US citizens? Anyone want to take a guess? 10? 30? 4. Now, I understand that I am all about global prosperity and global security, but I need to ensure, you and I need to ensure, that some things are happening at home first. That we're educating and grooming and developing a qualified workforce for the jobs that are clearly left unfilled. And you and I've done H-1B visas before, know that they're hard and they're difficult to obtain, and getting 250,000 of those filled is going to be a challenge. It also brings up a question of national security. So let's go on. AI is everywhere. Even McDonald's. I went through one of the first drive-through at McDonald's where the AI took my order, and then it was validated by a human at the second window. ChatGPT has been used in recent legal and law reviews. Even AI is being used to help scout for professional soccer players. McKinsey is acquiring microbial and even artificial intelligence in intensive care units. Artificial intelligence is everywhere that you and I look, and the opportunities abound. Now, here's the question. Is AI just going to write itself? Is AI just going to maintain itself? Aaron was talking about this 250,000 person shortfall. Are we going to have enough masters and PhDs? Do we even need those? Well, let me get into a series of numbers before I come home with the answer to that. 2030 and 2025. Does this number, do these years mean anything to anyone? Yes, sir. 2030 is what? It's what? I don't know what you said, but that's right. 2030 is the year that China has declared it will be the world superpower via artificial intelligence. Let me say that again. China has asserted publicly, very transparently, it will be the world superpower in 2030, not by building up a massive army or many, many more weapons platforms, but via artificial intelligence. I have a daughter who's 9. What does this mean? It means that when she gets her driver's license, I could be telling her, Carly, we're number 2. I didn't go to the Naval Academy, and I'm sure that none of us are here in Vegas to allow that to happen. Now, 2025, what does that number mean? Anyone hear the National Council on Artificial Intelligence? They said, oh yeah, China, we see year 2030, and the US will do it better and faster. We'll be all of that by 2025. What year is it? Okay, let me ask you, how do you feel? Are we 2 years away from being the world superpower assertively by artificial? You know what? I've shared this slide at least 15 times, and I heard a laugh, and I hear it every single time. I love it because that means my slide means something, but I hate it because the joke's not funny. We are not in a position to be a world superpower, to ensure our maintaining of superpower by 2025. Moreover, how long does it take to make a PhD? 10 to 8 years? How many years does it take to make a master? 4 to 6, right? After the bachelor's. So mathematically, We cannot do it by 2025, and mathematically, we cannot even do it by 2030 under the current educational and workforce paradigm. Things in Vegas and things everywhere else I've given this presentation need to flip, and they need to flip today, and I will show you how. The future fields of labor, of wealth, and education are going to be where they've always been. They're going to come from the blue-collar workforce, who have always been called the farmers, the miners, and the welders. Okay, what does Aaron mean with regard to farming, mining, and welding? I have never done a meaningful artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, or even basic piece of analytics that didn't include data farming. There was absolutely important data to be found with data mining. And then an application never meant anything until it was reusable. It was welded to the business operations, which is data welding. Let me get into each one of these again. So the 4-year, the 6, the 8, the 10-year programs aren't needed to develop farmers, miners, and welders. When I was at Accenture, I had about 8 PhDs that worked for me, and each of them hated their jobs. You know why? Because they were being asked to do low-level analytic things. They were being asked to mine data. They were being asked to automate data, operationalize data pipelines. This isn't what they got their PhD in. In other occasions, we actually got MBAs and reskilled them to come over from doing their MBA stuff and start doing data pipelines and data farming and data mining. All the while, we're paying too much money to reskill, to retain, and to recruit these masters and these PhDs. Now look, I have my master, and I've had my opportunity for PhDs. I have nothing against them. I have nothing against any of you that are masters and doctors. Salute. But what I'm saying is that is not where 80% of the workforce in artificial intelligence is going to come from. If any of you have done analytics projects in the past, you know that 80% of the project is spent in cleansing the data, in preparing the data, in examining the data. And then after that, the math is the easy part. The hardest part is actually the change management, is the operationalization. So, what I'll say again, data farming is how you cultivate data. How you go and you find, hey, data's never been collected there before. How do I start collecting that? Or if there isn't the data that's available, you don't say, you know what, death by analysis or death by data. You actually say, I am going to ensure that we're going to create a statistically significant data sample, faux data, surrogate data, until there's data enough. At Nike, they didn't have all the data they needed to design for their safety stocks. So what did I do? I created silhouette profiles. I rounded out the data set. They only had 10% of the data they needed. I created 100%, and boom, we're up and running in less than a month. $12 million. And then that literally put a gun to certain people's heads and said, go collect that data. Let's get better and better as time goes on. It's still going on today, and they went from 1 data science center to now 18 in Portland, Oregon. Methinks it worked. Data mining, you guys have heard of this. Where is the meaningful data in the ore? Data miners, folks that can go in there and look for patterns, are critical. And that data mining can actually be taught in about a 2-week to 8-week course. Data welding, this is where so many of the kids these days are really excited to come into data science. They do these Minecraft games and video games, and I say, great, you like creating video games. You're going to create a video game for me now with regard to business decision making. At Loblaw and at Canadian Tire, I did a lot of work up in Canada for a little while. This was a little system that literally came back to the Canuck who was sitting on their couch, and it said, hey, here's option A, option B, option C. And that person would select an option, and then it machine learn, it goes through that human reinforcement learning, and it brought back another recommendation, just like it does for Netflix and just like it does for Amazon. It basically started anticipating what they would do and started refining and improving the recommendations that it made. That's data mining. That's data welding, rather. That's how you operationalize, gamify the decisions that are coming forward. I've only got 6 minutes, so let me zip along. To get to this, it's going to take 5 of us working together. It's going to take the students, it's going to take the employers, it's going to take the states, and it's going to take the nations. And all of them working together, the citizens, all the citizens, you, when you go home, when you talk to your uncle, your niece, your nephew, your son, your daughter, I have 3. It's about encouraging them to think, it's time to enlist in the ranks. Enroll in an AI-focused associate program. Live debt-free. And go on to your bachelor's or your master's next. Employers, start to think about this. Don't go don't go competing for the MIT, the Carnegie, the Naval Academy. Miami-Dade will be graduating our very first associates in artificial intelligence next year. Scout there. That's an $80,000, $90,000 resource that will grow with you, starting your backyard. I have Florida up here, nothing against where we're at right now, but they are absolutely a first mover. They have 3 community colleges standing up associate programs right now. That's where I'll be next week. And they need to incentivize and retain that workforce, not have them go to California and New York, but stay right there in Florida. And then in the United States, we need to continue to encourage, not just our DoD to be smart in AI, but especially the IRS and the Department of Commerce. Now, I care less about the IRS like you, but the Department of Commerce I care a lot about. And how can they incentivize and promote and have us all share data and have ethical AI standards? If we do that, we'll be doing well. We need to certify our workforce. I'll end with this quick thought, and this might be the one thing that you remember. Who got their teeth cleaned last week? I did. And when I got my teeth cleaned, I didn't go to my lawn care guy. I didn't go to my barber. I went to my dentist, who was a DDS. Who drove across a bridge on their way here today? You surely did. Or you drove across the road, and guess what? That road was designed by someone that had a PE, a professional engineer after their name. And if you've had a lawyer, it's been a JD, and if you've had a doctor, it's been a PhD, and et cetera, et cetera. Why do we have doctors and dentists and engineers and lawyers that require certifications? Yet, when a schmo like me that makes a material decision for the Marine Corps at $3.5 billion, who cares about $3.5 billion of taxpayer money? I do. But it didn't require certification on me yet. That was 2012. Things have changed. If you go to certifiedanalytics.org, I'm the chair of the Global Analytics Certification Board. We currently have 600 certified analytics professionals worldwide. We have states like Virginia and Florida and Illinois looking at requiring a certified workforce. The first licensure, the first regulation is coming. And I do believe you will see these things starting to take and gain huge traction in the US in 2024. They're already happening in Europe. Just like they used to make fun of you on the playground, you are what you eat, right? You are what you certify. If we certify good data science, we'll have great data science. If we certify responsible artificial intelligence, we'll have ethical artificial intelligence. If we don't care, neither will the AI. So I'll conclude. We have 2 minutes for questions, but I just want to really encourage you all to, with me, continue to be the change and continue to lead the change. Happy to take your questions. And thank you, and great bow tie.
In the school system and the colleges, you have a point of view on what it means for the current workforce, where they may not be ready and what can be done to get them, because most of them are worried that AI will take their job away, but the reality is somebody who knows AI will actually take the job away, not.
That's beautiful. I've never heard it said quite like that, but that's exactly right. Not only are we at the PC moment in artificial intelligence, but I also think we're also at the automotive moment in artificial intelligence. I was sitting at a panel a little while ago and had a sharp disagreement with the guy, and I said, you know what? When the cars came along, the stagecoachmen weren't suddenly out of jobs. They weren't begging on the streets. They became mechanics. They became fuelmen. They became other things that we need. If I worked at Amazon, and if any of you have ever been in an Amazon warehouse, your minds would explode with the robots that are running all around. And you're like, Aaron, isn't that a human? Wasn't that once a human? Yes. But you'd also be astounded by how many, there's these little fire teams, squads of robot technicians that run around and triage and make things are operating all the time. And they are there operating, working, maintaining 24/7. If you have a son or daughter, have them go into mechatronics also. Huge workforce of the future. Sir, great question.
Yeah, hi. Congratulations. Great. I'm also
Ándale pues.
in Latin America. It's more a reflection than a question. It
I can hear you.
it
Sorry, would you actually mind? We have to.
Here you go.
he wants me to repeat.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's more a reflection than a question. It feels like as we talk, and Latin America is even behind US. You mentioned China and then US, well, go look to Latin America. But it feels like there is also a need for translating, right? You go to an executive, you go to a leader, and you start talking about statistics, forget machine learning, and they don't have the patience. You feel like you're talking, I speak Spanish, they talk Russian, and somebody else is in Chinese, and there is no communication because they're too afraid of what they can do or not to do with it.
So I think what your point was that there's a little bit of a language challenge in addition to learning the technical things? No.
No, I use the languages as an analogy. It's the interpretation and the usage of it, there is a cultural resistance to it.
For sure, and I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon until there's a reverse Tower of Babel, but until that happens, it's going to be incumbent on us to understand that those artificial barriers, that lack of inclusion, that lack of diversity, that lack of representative thought, and how we communicate and educate each other. And so one of the things that I am pushing with the Analytics Certification Board is for that test to be available in as many languages as we can, because it's not fair internationally for them to have to know English to be able to call themselves an analytics professional. I think that's one place where I can make a difference. Other places where you and I can make a difference is really pushing this idea of a blue-collar workforce down to the colleges of these countries, because that is where it's going to pervade and probably increase the participation fastest and greatest, as opposed to just saying that these countries have to do onesies and twosies of doctors and PhDs abroad. Does that make sense? You agree? Let's do it. What are they?
I'm not worried that, I understand that it's not replace and we'll have new skills. So humans as a whole will migrate to newer skills, probably more abstract skills, which is good, but let me give an example. Like for example, when calculators came in, kids lost mental math in the sense because they had the calculators. So the generation that was good at mental math is no longer, they don't think it's important. Yeah. So what do you think of human skills getting lost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that when the printing press was created, people thought it was apocryphal, that the books were going to diminish human memory and knowledge. And so books, calculators, computers, artificial intelligence, yes, I'm concerned with that. And I actually, I'll say this, I hate GitLab. I hate these places where you can go and create these repositories and kids can just go download libraries and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it makes a model. They need to know how the math operates. And so I'm a proponent of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. I use it to write emails all the time. I like it coming back and writing something for me, but then I have to know how to massage it and tune it and make it right by knowing how the language, by knowing how the math, by knowing how the program should operate. And that's going to be the difference between good, better, and best. Great point. Sir.
You mentioned earlier in your talk the employment gap, the amount of the tidal wave we have coming of not having enough people to do these jobs in this country. What do you think can be done, and what is your company doing to, like we talked about in the panel before, move the age younger? Because I think we all know that there are going to be some people who learn stuff at 5,
yep.
And if you 20, 30, you won't be able to compete with a kid who started learning it at 5.
I'm not even going to talk K1 through 12 and all that stuff. Community colleges. All my blue chips right now are on community colleges. Maricopa in Arizona, Jacksonville, and Miami, and Montgomery. All these places are starting to create these blue-collar AI workforces, and I believe it's going to catch on like wildfire. There's 180 community colleges that we're working with right now in California. Once we get those, everything explodes. We got $3 million grant from the National Science Foundation. What is my company doing? What am I doing? I don't make a lot of money. I make no money from helping these community colleges. But what it's wise for me and wise for you to do in pushing these is there's going to be much more personal computing, much more personal AI in the future than there is Fortune 500 AI. And so by helping to groom these workforces, as I've helped folks graduate from Miami-Dade and professors start to get smart at Miami-Dade, they started bringing me business in Miami-Dade. First-of-kind warehouses, first-of-kind auto dealerships, first-of-kind blue-collar type small and medium business AI applications. And that's where I'll be, with open arms when the opportunity and the demand is there. I hope you will be there too.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.